Good morning. Today I'm going to share with you 5 mistakes that Alan and I made in the course of our relationship, which actually created quite a few problems for us. In fact, there were times when we wondered whether or not our marriage would survive some of the things that were happening at that time. And the first thing that I want to bring up is keeping track of what each other does. And I know many times, there's one partner or the other that thinks, well, look at what I do, and, you're watching a game, and we can build up a lot of resentments, but it's a conversation you need to have. And when you have these kind of resentments that are building up, it's just not a good thing, because the tiniest little disagreement can turn into a big serious argument, because you've saved up all these grievances that you've had, and that does hurt a relationship quite a bit. So the second one that is real personal to me is, don't try to change the person that you're in the relationship with. That was a big one for me and Alan, because we are polar opposites. You could not have two people that are so different from each other, and I'm not kidding. The only thing we agreed upon is that we disagree about everything. And so don't try to change the person, but what you can do is tell them how you feel about what they're doing, with the hopes that maybe they'll see your side of the conversation, and maybe change things or modify things that make for a happier relationship. But the important thing is, when you marry someone or you're in a relationship with someone, you married them for a certain reason. Maybe you thought they had a kind heart, or they're hard workers, or they make you laugh. There's so many things that draw us to our partner. So you really don't want to change that, but it's also true that when you meet, you didn't grow up in the same home, you've not had the same experiences, and so it takes, honestly, a lot of years to actually get used to being with the person and coexisting. And so that's just a thought that you can avoid a lot of unhappy moments by just not trying to change each other. So the third one kind of goes back to the first one, and that is when you harbor these resentments, it's not a good thing. You need to have serious conversations, and very compassionate and loving conversations, about things that you've buried. And maybe, it's the same thing over and over and over again, and pretty soon, you're really angry about it, but you don't say anything. You say, well, I don't want to get in a fight, so you just kind of bury it until maybe there's a day that something happens, and it's the last straw, and then you just let it all loose. You're bringing in things that happened 6 months or a year ago, and the person that is receiving all of this doesn't have any idea how such a big argument can come to play with such a minor incident that happened at that time. And so don't harbor all these regrets and anger, and have just a very good conversation where the plan is to come to a resolution of it, and try to be happier in the situation. The fourth thing I think is kind of important as well, and that is, sometimes when you've been married so long and you know someone so well, the marriage or the relationship just goes on autopilot. Your relationship changes. You do the same things, you talk about the same things, and you're just kind of on autopilot. And what happens is you forget to bring in the romance. You forget to date each other again and make time to have adventures with each other and just relate it back to when you were new in the relationship and you loved everything about the person and you wanted to go every place with them and be with them all the time. And you have to remember to bring that back into the relationship. Otherwise, what happens is, you talk about your favorite programs or your, on TV, or the type of movies you want, and you talk about the household finances and so many things that are just mundane and just feel like you're roommates instead of partners. And so I think it's very important to keep some fun and energy into the relationship. The last thing that I thought about is oftentimes when Alan and I argue, we forget that we're on the same team. We have the same goals, but it's just the argument, and this is the important thing, the argument becomes a factor in wanting to be right, wanting to have the last word. And instead, you're almost adversaries. You're not remembering that you're two people that love each other and that you want to continue to be happy together. Instead, it becomes, I told you so, I wish you would remember to do this, and just being critical of each other and wanting to be right. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, do you want to be right in an argument, or do you want to be happy? And with that, I think makes all the difference in the world. If you just stop and think about that for a minute and say, well, he's my husband, I love him to death, and we can resolve this without criticizing one another or placing blame. So those are the 5 tips that I wanted to offer today, and I hope they're helpful to you, because we wasted an awful lot of time coming to the realization that we needed to make these changes. And if you're just a few years into the relationship, you can really benefit by knowing a way to do things a little bit differently that actually improve your relationship. So for today, I hope that you're happy in this new year. I hope you're having a great day. Take care.